We're at the Qlik Visualise Your World event, and we are speaking with Chief Technology Officer Anthony Deighton. Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Can you please introduce some of your tasks and projects within Qlik?
Sure. So I'm Anthony Deighton, Chief Technology Officer and Senior Vice President of Products at Qlik. I've actually been with the company for a bit over 10 years, so I have a good context and history for where the company's been. My primary responsibilities are our product strategy and direction, so I'm thoughtful and considered about where we're going, where we're investing, what our strategy is, especially from a product perspective going forward.
This morning at Qlik's Visualise Your World event, you gave us a wonderful keynote. It was full of insights of the coming things, all the cool things to come, the strategy. What can we expect for the future?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for that very positive feedback. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was a wonderful event, lots of people, a lot of great energy in the room and excitement. So there were a couple of key focuses that we shared at the event that I can share with you here. So there are three major pillars of our strategy, our long-term vision and strategy, or what I sometimes call the 2020 vision. So the first is around data, the second is around the platform, and the third is around analytics. So on the data side, we see a shift away from on-premise data to data that's born and lives in the cloud and data that's in data lakes. And so we want to evolve a strategy which incorporates all of that data in a governed data layer. At the same time, we recognize from a data perspective that a lot of data in the enterprise is personal, and we can't leave out personal data. Personal data is as much a part of the strategy as governed centralized data. On the platform side, we see a shift away from on-premise hardware that's in a data center I can go visit, to public and private cloud hardware, or public and private cloud infrastructure, and also to out to the edges of networks. So think about iOS devices like iPhones, but also sensors running on machines and hardware, things like that. So we need to build a platform which scales from the largest servers in the data center to the cloud and actually out to the edges of networks. And the third dimension we talked about is analytics, or maybe a different way to think of it is the user. What business problem are we solving? I think historically people think of Qlik as self-service visualization, and nothing wrong with that. That's a great use case. But we're also investing in how we get data out from a reporting perspective, so printed and even exported to Office and things like that. And we see big growth around mobile, so running on mobile devices. Increasingly, we even see embedded use cases, so we can actually embed analytics in operational applications. And we see customers and partners building applications on the open APIs we've developed in the platform and actually having application use cases. So we really have a full range of use cases for Qlik. So data, platform, and analytics, and that really framed out the 2020 strategy for Qlik.
One of the focus points is big data.
Sure. So we want to think about how we can, instead of bringing the data to Qlik, how do we bring Qlik to the data? And the way we achieve that is through a distributed architecture. So the core value, the core difference of Qlik is association. It's the ability to see relationship among the data. We call that association the associative index. So one of the strategies we have in place for our direction around data is to take the Qlik engine, make it a distributed architecture, allow it to run close to the data, and therefore allow for much higher scale to support big data, while bringing the associative capabilities directly to that to the user through that index. So it's an important strategy for us. Partners like Cloudera and other Hadoop distributions will be a really important part of that strategy because those are already distributed architectures for data management and data storage. If we can then apply an associative layer on top of that using the Qlik engine in a distributed framework, that can be a really powerful solution.
You stated in your keynote we need to evolve from business intelligence to augmented intelligence. So then comes the questions, where's the balance between human reasoning and machine learning?
Sure. I think this is, there's a bigger challenge here. The question I think that the software industry is wrestling with is who's in charge? Is the computer in charge or is the human in charge? And our view is not that artificial intelligence will take over human decision making, but rather that we should use AI techniques, machine learning techniques to create an augmented intelligence experience, or sort of adding to the human experience through additional capabilities. So in that sense, it's not a battle between the human and the computer. The question is, how can we make people better decision makers by augmenting their already powerful natural capabilities to understand data, make decisions with data, to help them be better, to make better decisions. Or maybe, if you say it a slightly more specific way, help them or help avoid making the wrong decision. And we see this a lot. People struggle with trying to understand the data, make the right decision. How can we guide them, help them, support them into the right decision? This is something Qlik, for example, has done a lot of. If you think about a simple example, but like a data visualization, we embed a lot of the best practices you would expect in a visualization right out of the box in the product. So for example, if you're doing a very simple example, but a bar chart, and you put relatively few members on the dimension, we'll actually sort them alphabetically. But if you have a large number of dimensional values on that, we'll sort Y value descending. So you see the big ones on the right and the little ones on the left. It's a simple example, but it gets to the idea, which is the user might make that decision correctly or not, but if the computer can nudge or guide or suggest or put it in the right context, all of a sudden that user is doing the right thing. They're helping to make them make the right or the better decision. But that's not replacing them. We're not saying, we don't need the human here. We actually really want the human. We're just trying to help them be better.
During your presentation, you shared us your personal 5 cool things. Could you please share us your insights with us?
Sure. So what I shared with some of the features and capabilities in the product today that I particularly appreciate. I'll highlight a handful. So first is a unified experience across mobile and desktop and web. So what I love about Qlik is you build analysis once, you can have it on your iPad, you can have it online, you can have it offline, you can have it on your PC, you could have it on your Mac, you can have it on a big screen, you can have it on a little screen, and it always works. It's responsive and scales to the screen, and it gives the same user experience regardless of the device. Another area that we really spent a lot of time focused on is this, what we talked about before, in augmented intelligence. So I actually showed off some prototypes, not shipping software, of how we can help the user, starting with some raw data, immediately get to actionable insights and analysis based on our cognitive rules engine to help guide them to interesting pieces of data. And we also showed a similar use of that engine, but in a different UI around what we call swarm. And the idea there is, given a set of data, are there clusters of data or associated data that are interesting the user should go and dig into and analyze? And we showed that as well. So those are a couple of highlights.
Thank you, Anthony.
A pleasure.